In the dim glow of a sprawling mansion's surveillance room, Alexander Harrington froze, his coffee cup slipping from his hand and shattering on the marble floor. The screen before him revealed a scene that defied every medical prognosis he'd ever heard. His 7-year-old daughter, Emily, who had been confined to a wheelchair since birth due to a rare neurological disorder, was standing, unsteadily, but standing, her tiny feet planted on the lush carpet of the playroom. And there, guiding her with gentle hands and an inexplicable aura of calm, was the nanny, Clara, doing something that sent chills down his spine. She wasn't just supporting Emily, she was whispering ancient words, her fingers tracing invisible patterns in the air, as if weaving threads of light around the child's legs. Alexander's world, built on billions and boardrooms, crumbled in that instant, forcing him to confront the unbelievable truth that kindness, wrapped in mystery, could heal what science had deemed impossible. As the shards of porcelain scattered like forgotten dreams, Alexander's mind raced back to the beginning, to the life he had meticulously constructed yet never truly lived. He was the epitome of success, a tech mogul whose innovations had revolutionized communication, amassing a fortune that could buy islands or influence elections. But wealth couldn't mend the fracture in his heart caused by Emily's condition. Born prematurely in the wake of his wife's tragic death during childbirth, Emily had entered the world fragile, her nerves tangled in a web that doctors called congenital paraplegia. Specialists from around the globe had paraded through their home, offering experimental treatments, custom braces, and endless therapies, all funded by Alexander's endless resources. Yet, nothing worked. Emily's legs remained lifeless, her spirit dimming with each failed attempt. Alexander, drowning in guilt and grief, threw himself into work, leaving the child rearing to a revolving door of nannies who treated her like a delicate artifact rather than a vibrant soul. He convinced himself that providing every material comfort was enough: state-of-the-art wheelchairs, private tutors, a wing of the mansion transformed into a fairy tale nursery. But deep down, he knew he was failing her, just as he had failed to save her mother. Nights blurred into days in his office, where spreadsheets and mergers offered a numb escape from the haunting silence of Emily's unused playroom. If you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, hit that like button, drop a comment sharing your own story of unexpected miracles, share this video with someone who needs a reminder that hope exists, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more tales that warm the heart and inspire the soul. Clara entered their lives like a soft breeze on a stagnant summer day, unassuming yet transformative. Hired through a discreet agency after yet another nanny quit, overwhelmed by the emotional weight of the role, Clara was different from the start. In her mid-30s, with sun-kissed hair tied in a loose braid and eyes that held the depth of ancient forests, she carried no resume boasting Ivy League credentials or celebrity endorsements. Instead, she brought stories of growing up in a remote village where healers used herbs and whispers to mend broken bodies, of her own childhood marked by loss when her parents perished in a flood, leaving her to raise her siblings with nothing but resilience and faith. Alexander barely glanced at her during the interview, his mind on a looming acquisition deal, but Emily's face lit up when Clara knelt to her level, not with pity, but with genuine curiosity. "Tell me about your dreams," Clara had said, and for the first time in years, Emily spoke without reservation, her voice a melody of forgotten joy. Alexander dismissed it as coincidence, signing the contract with a wave of his hand, retreating to his empire while Clara settled into the rhythm of the household. The early days were a quiet revolution, one that Alexander observed only in fleeting glimpses during his rare evenings at home. Clara didn't adhere to the rigid schedules of therapies and medications. Instead, she wove play into healing, turning the playroom into a sanctuary of wonder. She pushed Emily's wheelchair through the expansive gardens, narrating tales of mythical creatures who overcame impossible odds, dragons that learned to fly without wings, princesses who danced on clouds. Emily, once withdrawn and prone to tears, began to laugh, her small hands reaching for flowers as if they held secrets. But Alexander, armored in skepticism, saw it as mere distraction. "She's not a miracle worker," He muttered to his assistant one night, reviewing footage from the home's extensive camera system, a habit born of paranoia after a kidnapping threat years ago. He watched Clara sing lullabies in a language he didn't recognize, her voice soothing Emily into peaceful sleep, but he attributed the child's improving mood to novelty, not depth. Challenges mounted as Emily's doctors warned of stagnation. Without aggressive intervention, her muscles would atrophy further. Alexander poured more money into research, funding a new clinical trial, but his absences grew longer, the mansion echoing with the void of his presence. As weeks turned to months, subtle shifts began to weave through the fabric of their isolated world, building a tension that Alexander couldn't ignore forever. Emily's eyes, once dulled by resignation, sparkled with anticipation each morning when Clara arrived. The nanny introduced unconventional methods, gentle massages with oils infused from herbs she grew in a hidden corner of the garden, meditations where they visualized Emily's legs as strong roots anchoring her to the earth. Alexander caught snippets on the cameras, Clara placing crystals around Emily's wheelchair, claiming they channeled positive energy, or leading the child in breathing exercises that synchronized with the rhythm of ocean waves played on a hidden speaker. He scoffed at first, labeling it pseudoscience, but doubt crept in when Emily's physical therapist noted unexpected improvements, slight twitches in her toes, better circulation in her limbs. "It's impossible," the therapist said, shaking his head, yet the evidence mounted. Alexander's struggle intensified. His rational mind, honed by years in the cutthroat world of technology, clashed with the inexplicable. He buried himself deeper in work, acquiring companies as if collecting shields against vulnerability, but late-night reviews of the footage revealed Clara's dedication, staying hours past her shift, reading books on neurology mixed with folklore, her face etched with quiet determination. The mansion, a sprawling estate perched on cliffs overlooking the Pacific, became a character in its own right, its vast halls mirroring the emotional chasms within. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, but they couldn't illuminate the shadows of Alexander's grief. He wandered at night, glass of scotch in hand, replaying memories of his wife, Sophia, whose laughter had once filled these spaces. Emily resembled her so strikingly, curly auburn hair, freckles like stars across her nose, that it pained him to look too long. Clara, sensing his turmoil, tried subtle bridges, leaving notes about Emily's progress, suggesting family dinners. But Alexander rebuffed them, his pride a fortress. Challenges escalated when Emily suffered a setback, a cold that weakened her further, confining her to bed. Doctors swarmed, prescribing isolation, but Clara defied protocol, sneaking in with warm broths laced with healing spices, holding Emily's hand through fevered nights. Alexander watched from afar, his heart twisting as Clara's exhaustion showed, dark circles under her eyes, yet her resolve unbroken. It was then that whispers of Clara's past surfaced. A background check, impulsively ordered, revealed she had once been accused of practicing unlicensed medicine in her village, using ancestral rituals to aid the sick. Scandalous headlines from obscure outlets painted her as a charlatan, but testimonials spoke of lives saved. Alexander teetered on firing her, but Emily's plea, her first emotional outburst in his presence, stayed his hand. She needed Clara. Suspense built like storm clouds gathering over the ocean, each day layering emotion upon emotion. Alexander's empire faced its own trials, a hostile takeover bid that demanded his full attention, pulling him away for weeks. In his absence, Clara's methods deepened. She introduced movement exercises disguised as games, Emily flying, her arms like wings while Clara supported her torso, imagining her legs joining the dance. The cameras captured moments of pure magic, Emily's face alight with effort, sweat beading on her brow as faint sensations stirred in her calves. Clara shared her own story one evening, though Alexander wasn't there to hear it. Orphaned young, she had discovered her gift when nursing a sibling back from paralysis using techniques passed down from her grandmother, blending touch, intention, and belief. "Healing isn't just in the body," she murmured to Emily, "it's in the heart that refuses to give up." Upon his return, Alexander found Emily more animated, attempting to shift her weight in the chair unaided. Jealousy flickered in him. Why could this stranger evoke what he couldn't? His struggle peaked in a confrontation he avoided, instead poring over footage obsessively, piecing together Clara's unbelievable routine. The turning point arrived on a rain-lashed afternoon, the mansion's windows rattling like unsettled spirits. Emily, inspired by Clara's tales, begged to try standing, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and hope. Clara hesitated, knowing the risks, but the child's determination mirrored her own past battles. In the playroom, surrounded by toys that had long gathered dust, Clara positioned Emily at the edge of a soft mat, her hands hovering like guardians. She began the ritual, words in an old dialect, perhaps Gaelic or something more arcane, invoking strength from the earth. Her fingers traced symbols, as if drawing energy from invisible sources, while she encouraged Emily to visualize roots growing from her feet, anchoring and lifting her. Alexander, alerted by a motion sensor in his office, tuned in just as Emily's legs quivered. Time slowed, the room's warm light filtered through curtains, casting ethereal glows. Emily rose, wobbling, her knees buckling then steadying, Clara's touch minimal yet profound. Tears streamed down both their faces, Emily's from triumph, Clara's from the weight of memory. Alexander burst in, his composure shattered, witnessing the culmination of months of quiet miracles. In the aftermath, emotions cascaded like the waves below the cliffs, reshaping everything. Alexander knelt before his daughter, seeing her not as a fragile reminder of loss, but as a beacon of resilience. Emily took her first steps toward him, faltering but fierce, bridging the gulf of years. Clara explained her method, not magic, but a fusion of empathy, acupressure inspired by ancient practices, and unwavering belief that ignited neural pathways doctors had overlooked. It was unbelievable only because the world had forgotten the power of human connection. Over clinical detachment, Alexander's transformation was profound. He scaled back his empire, dedicating time to family, funding research into holistic therapies. The mansion filled with laughter, gardens blooming under shared care. Emily walked, then ran, her world expanding beyond wheels. Clara became family, her past vindicated, her gift celebrated. As the sun set on their renewed lives, Alexander reflected on how one act of kindness had unraveled his isolation, proving that true wealth lay in vulnerability and love. Emily's journey inspired countless others, her story shared in quiet circles, reminding the world that miracles hide in the hearts of those who dare to believe. If this story has touched your heart, stirred tears in your eyes, or reminded you of the unbreakable spirit within us all, please like, comment below with what moved you most, share it far and wide, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more stories that celebrate the beauty of humanity. And before we end, a special request, comment your favorite line from this story. It could be the one that gave you chills or made you smile, and let's build a community of kindness in the comments below.